Computer, turn on the Christmas tree. Computer, make me a cup of hot tea, please.
Doctor, do you have an update about my yarn shipment from Denmark?
No, Captain, I don't know where your package is. I am the ship's doctor. We've been over this. I don't keep track of your packages.
Very well then, but let me know as soon as you hear something.
Good morning, everybody. It's December 4th, the 4th day of Vlogmas. I hope you're all doing well. Starting off with the flax sweater that I'm making for my son. That is going to be a Weasley sweater, and I finished the bottom. I've started the rib. Needs to be a little bit longer, but I'll get there. So this is going. I have to say, after starting the Sophie hood shawl yesterday, this has been a little bit forgotten because it's just not very exciting to work on something that you already have. It's way more exciting to work on something that's new. So this is how far I got with my Sophie hood shawl. So I'm not entirely sure when it starts to become a hood, but we'll find out. I'm really liking this pattern. It's very simple, but you have to pay attention. I'm knitting the medium size, and that means that every 8 rows I have to do an increase. So I'm leaning very heavily on my stitch counter. And because you need to increase only on one side, I'm not sure if you can see this, but the increases are all on this side. There's no increases on this side. That means you have to really pay attention when you're doing your rows, what side the increase side is. So it tells you to sort of like remember what the right side and what the wrong side of the work is. I've put this stitch marker on the right side, so that should help. I realize that it can be sort of difficult to remember when you have this. Did I put the stitch marker on the right side or on the wrong side? I have a solution for this, but we'll come to that. Other than that, it's going well. I did make one mistake on one of the rounds here. You can see I forgot to do the I-cord edging, and I just did regular knitting. But I mean, you can see it, but I was so far beyond that point before I noticed. I'm just gonna ignore it. I'm gonna choose to ignore it because I've come to accept that when it comes to knitting, I'm not a perfectionist. So done is better than perfect. If you saw my video yesterday, you'll know that I started on these straight needles because my 5mm circular needles are taken up by the flax sweater. But I found that with those straight needles, I was going pretty slow. I found it hard to sort of keep track of the row counter because you switch your needles and then the row counter is on the other side, but your hand is not naturally sort of touching it. Whereas with circular needles, you're kind of flipping the yarn in a way where your hand kind of touches the row counter. To me, that just works out better. And I found also that I was getting a very, very large shawl. It looked way larger than on other people's. So I have made the decision. I pulled it all out. I frogged what I made yesterday. And then in the evening, I started again with 4.5mm needles, which is a US size, I can't see, 7. I want to say 7. So US size 7, whereas the 5mm needles are obviously bigger. So I guess that's a size 8. I'm not sure. Anyway, this is working out for me. I guess this works because the yarn that I'm using is a little bit thicker than the pattern calls for. It does make a little bit of a more dense fabric, but I don't think I mind that. It's quite nice. Still airy enough. If you kind of pull it apart, you can sort of see holes. But other than that, it's quite compact. So there's no like, I feel like if I wear this, there will be not very much wind coming through this. So we'll see, we'll see. If you noticed, this episode of Vlogmas is a little bit Star Trek themed. I'm a very big fan of Star Trek. And I even have a Star Trek tattoo. I don't know if I've ever showed that on camera, but this is a sort of blue, what's that? A blueprint model of the Enterprise ship. We used to watch Star Trek when I was a kid, a lot. And it was on TV on like Sunday in the evenings, and that Sunday would be like my mum's day off. She wouldn't do any cooking, and my stepdad would get Greek takeout, and we would watch Star Trek and have Greek food and at the same time. And sort of those two things have sort of bonded in my brain. So whenever I watch Star Trek, I'm always like hungry for Greek food. But my mum really liked Star Trek. That was in the 90s, so it was The Next Generation. That's the one that we watched. I also have a 3D printer, and that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. My 3D printer is called the 10 Forward Replicator. And if you've watched The Next Generation, you'll get that. But a replicator in Star Trek is just something that makes whatever people need. Like, could be a cup of tea, could be a vase, could be anything. To me, that's kind of what a 3D printer is. It's just something that you can use to make things for your house. I've had a 3D printer for about a year, I think now, and I have a very cheap one. I paid about 200 euros for it, and it's not very exciting, but it works very, very well. You buy rolls of filament in different colors. I really enjoy having the pastel colors, and you can just make things for your house. So I have a son who fidgets a lot, so I have a ton of these fidget spinners just lying around the house. So it's just something for him to sort of play with. And but I also use it to make things like this. It has a little tea light in it. It doesn't look like much at the moment, but at night this looks like it looks quite nice. So I have that by the TV. I'll also print things. I'll also print things like this. So I've printed this part. This is an old peanut butter jar, and I just printed this top and put some pampas grass in it. And it's just something nice to have by the TV. My boyfriend complains about this thing endlessly because apparently it's always in front of the screen. But I like it, so it stays here. Now, of course, when you're a knitter, a 3D printer can be an extremely useful tool because we can print things that we need for our knitting. So there are people who knit all kinds of things, stitch markers, caddies, yarn butlers, those sort of wrist things where you can hang your yarn from your wrist and then it swivels and then you can walk around knitting. There's even people who 3D print sock knitting machines. I haven't tried that. I will actually at some point try and do that, maybe in the new year. I think that would be an interesting project. It's just like a big project and it takes like a lot of small pieces, and there's like metal pieces that you need to order from the internet. So I'm just not going to bother with that at the moment. But another thing that I thought we could print today is something to remind me that this is the right side of the Sophie hood. So I'm just going to take you to my computer and we can make something. This is our print. The bed plate has cooled down sufficiently. These are flexi plates, so you can just really bend them like, ooh, and they just fly everywhere. And I'm just adding that I'm working on the Sophie hood. It's just cute. You could make like one with your name or something else, you know, it doesn't really matter. I just like having it like this. I like having dangly bits on my knitting when I'm working because it makes a nice noise. Thank you so much for watching today. This was a bit of a weird episode, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. And I'll see you again tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 5.